Welcome to the Faith and Work Podcast, a space where we talk about what it looks like to live out your faith in your everyday work and in your everyday life, helping you bring what you believe on Sunday into what you live on Monday. I'm so glad that you're here. On this podcast today, we're going to explore how to wisely invest our time and invest in the areas that matter the most. For today's episode, we're going to break it down into 4 quadrants: our faith, our family, your body, and your career, so you can live with greater clarity, peace, and purpose. Let's get into today's conversation. Hello, and welcome to the Faith and Work Podcast this week. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than our normal content, but I wanted to talk to you about the greatest investment that you'll ever make. When we think about the investment that we have in life and different types of investments that we make, we all choose how to spend our time. We choose how to spend our money. We choose how to, in essence, spend our life. Let's think about those 4 categories like the 4 wheels of a car. A lot of us commute back and forth to work. Now, some of you may take a bike to work. You may walk to work. You may work from home. But just for the sake of example, let's think about the cars that we drive having 4 wheels. One of those being our family, one being our faith, one being our career, and one being our physical body. So 4 wheels that we're going to talk about on this car that we're driving through life. I want to talk to you about some stats of how we are spending our time on average. The stats that I have are pulled from the average American and how we spend our time here in the U.S. I also want to recognize that we have a lot of people that listen to Faith and Work that are not from the U.S. So I would really encourage you to look up some of these stats for your country where you're at right now. And your stats may be completely different. We have people that listen in all different parts of the world, and I'm so glad that you're here. I hope today's stats make you curious about how you're spending your time. But for the sake of example, the stats that I give today will just be based on the U.S. average numbers. So when we think about the time that we spend with that family investment, that first wheel of our car being our family, on average, families in America spend about 6 hours a week together. 6 hours a week. Some articles that I read, one of them was in an article called Parent Q. It said about 37 minutes a day. 37 minutes a day. I also read another article that outlined each state and the time represented from each state and how they spent their time as a family. On the high end, we had, I believe it was North Dakota, that had close to 8 hours a week they spent together as a family. On the low end, one of the lowest numbers I found was West Virginia, and they spent on average 4 hours and 30 minutes a week together as a family. 4 hours a week as a family. That number was a lot lower than I anticipated. Honestly, I did not expect it to be that low. We think about all these different wheels of our car: our family, our faith, our career, and how much time we're spending investing in our physical body. Okay, let's move on to different stats. When you think about how much time you spend at work, the average American spends anywhere from 38 to 41 hours a week working. Now, this is an average. If you are a stay-at-home parent, those hours drastically increase to closer to 80 hours a week of typically mom and dads that are at home will clock in around 6 to 6:30 a.m. and will not be done with their parenting duties until around 8:30 p.m. So that's quite a long, long day where you are pouring in and investing into your job as a mom or a dad. Then we also have your commute time. You have the time back and forth on your drive to work. Okay, then you've got sleep. You've got your average sleep numbers that are different based on your family dynamic, based on your commute time, how early you have to get up. But let's transition to how much time the average American spends working on their faith. So this could be something from attending a corporate worship service to just what you do in your own personal study. Okay, so the average numbers I found articles that stated it was 1 to 2 hours per week, and then some research said it was as low as 25 minutes per week. 25 minutes per week. Some of that has changed since COVID, since the pandemic, with online church services and things of that nature. And the average time someone actually stayed plugged into a virtual church service goes a lot farther down than if you're attending a live service. You're going to stay engaged a little bit longer. In 2023, there was some research done that said the average American spent 3.6 minutes a day on average engaged in something with their faith. That could be praying, that could be studying the Bible, it could be watching something online or going to a service, but on average, 3.6 minutes a day working on your faith or your faith journey or whatever that looks like for you, whatever you want to call that. But investing in your faith, 3 minutes a day. On the flip side of that, the same group of Americans was asked about how much time they spent gaming. They spend on average 22 minutes a day gaming. That is 9 times the amount of time gaming as investing in our faith. That number staggered me. I mean, it really, really did. That number blew me away. We spent 9 times the amount of time in our week gaming than we did anything with our faith journey. That's incredible. It's incredibly sad, but it's still incredible, still feels like the right word. Okay, but then get this. Not only do we spend more time gaming, we spend on average 2.5 hours a day watching TV. That is 63 times the amount of time we spend watching TV than we do in our faith journey. What the heck is happening? 63 times. Okay, let's keep going. Think about these 4 investments. So if we're going to go by the general average of the different articles that I read, they would say about 6 hours every family spends a week together. And on average, we know that we spend about 1 to 2 hours a week, some as low as 25 hours a week. In 2023, the study was done with 3.6 minutes a day on our faith. Okay. We also know that between 40 and 44% of Americans delay medical appointments because of cost, time, scheduling. They just can't do it. So they delay it until the matter is critical. Let's talk about our career. We spend on average 40 to 47 hours working on some type of employer-provided training, and that is 40 to 47 hours per year on employer-provided training. Career experts recommend that we spend closer to 200 hours per year on training and developing. Because when you think about investing in your career, these are things that you need, skills that you need to develop that could be far beyond what your employer can provide or even knows they should provide. Sometimes there's someone who's very good at their current job, but they really need to work on their soft skills, or they really need a qualification to get the next job, and they're just not spending that time. We're spending 40 to 47 hours a year, and the recommended goal is 200 hours per year. So why is this important? Why are we talking about investing our time? Ephesians 5:15 and 16, it says to redeem our time because the days are evil. Psalms 90 verse 12 says, teach us to number our days. Colossians 4 verse 5 says, walk in wisdom. James 4:14 says, your life is a vapor. 1 Corinthians 10:31, whether we eat or drink or whatever we do, do all to the glory of God. Galatians 6:9 and 10 says, let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith. Through so many different parts of Scripture, we see these reminders that our time is precious. And how are we spending it? How are we spending our time? How are you investing time in yourself? You have one life to live. I have one life to live. One life. And we all have the same amount of hours a day, no matter where we're listening from today, no matter if you are on a subway on the way to work, if you're in your car, if you're on the treadmill, No matter where you are, you have the same amount of time that I have. And we have these different areas in our life. Going back to our car analogy, sometimes we find ourselves only putting air in one tire. We only invest time in one area of our life. For you, maybe it's work. Or maybe you put a little bit into the faith tire, you put a little bit over here, but you've really neglected your body. You've really neglected your mental health. All those other tires are going to have to compensate, and they're going to have to work a lot harder because you're not investing time there. Some of you have really neglected your faith because it's like, well, I believe in God. Oh, of course, I always believe in God. And you've kind of taken that relationship for granted. I want to really encourage you today. If you are in that group of only spending 3.6 minutes a day in your faith, I want to encourage you to stop listening right now, pause the episode, and spend some time just talking to God. Maybe it's been a while, and maybe that's how the conversation needs to start. God, it's really been a while since I've just sat and talked to you, since I've just sat and let you talk back to me. But we all have the same amount of time. So today, instead of spending so much time actually in the podcast, I've put together a list of some resources that I would love for you to go check out. Some resources about your family, some resources for your faith, some resources for your mental health, for your body, and some resources for your career. Because all 4 areas of your life, God has entrusted us with this life. If you're still breathing, if there is still air in your lungs and your heart is beating, then today you have a purpose in being here. Today you have something to accomplish. And I don't know what that is for you, but you need to spend some time investing in all 4 of those areas in your life. Spend time putting air in all of those tires. The cars will not run properly unless they have all 4 tires that are ready to go. Sometimes there have been moments in my life and seasons in my life where all of my time went into my family. There have been seasons in my life when all of my time went into my career. There's very few seasons I can say where I was just so focused on my faith. My faith is an area that I have to work at spending more time in. And I typically don't struggle with spending so much time on my physical health. There was maybe a season where after Eli was born, where I was really, really obsessed with getting back in shape. And I went to my doctor because my mental health was not as good. And I thought, man, why am I so down and discouraged? And they were like, Carol, you're pushing your body too far. And your hormones are really out of balance because you've pushed your body physically beyond what you're ready to do. And hormonally, you're not doing well. And I had to take some steps back. But I had to go to my doctor to find out that answer because I felt really off. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. Later today, I have an appointment with my chiropractor. That is an investment in my body that I'm deciding to make today. I have actually recently started going to acupuncture. And that is an investment in my body that I have decided to make at this time. But all of us have different things that work for us, different avenues, different things with our health. So if today you have put off a doctor's appointment, I want to encourage you to turn off the podcast right now, call the doctor and say, hey, that yearly appointment that I keep skipping, I need to make it today. Because your life, you've got one life, one. We don't get a second chance at this. I have a body that God entrusted me with, and I need to take care of it. There are dreams that He's given me to go pursue, but I can't pursue them if my body is broken down. Think about that number. 40 to 44% of Americans delay their medical care until it's critical. And they delay it beyond the point of when they need it because they're too busy or they're afraid it's going to cost too much, and they just delay it. And when you think about going to the doctor when it's critical, then it does cost a lot more. What if we took time to get our bodies in shape and we did a little bit more preventive care? What if in our faith, we did some preventive care? What if we didn't run back to church when we were served divorce papers? but we ran to church just to get to know God more. And church is amazing. I love church. I love it. But church is not where we are fed Monday through Friday. Your relationship with God needs to be cultivated every day, every single day. Because those 40 hours or more that I spend at work, I am a better employee when I spend time with God every day, when I talk to Him every day, when I spend time in the Word every day. I am a better mom and I show up better when I spend time with God. When my faith quadrant is full, every other area in my life is better. I'm a better employee. I sleep better. I show up better for my body. Because when I spend time with Jesus, I don't see anywhere in Scripture where He tells us to neglect our body. And if you've seen that, shoot me a message. I would love to see what Scripture has shown you that. But God tells us to redeem the time, redeeming our time. What does that look like for you today? Are you taking care of yourself and the body God's entrusted you with? Are you taking care of your mind? Are you taking care of your family? Are we spending more than 4 hours a week together? Man, that was so sad to me to read that. Look on your calendar. When are you having some family time? When are you planning to spend time with your family? Maybe you're someone who doesn't have young kids in the house like I do, but you need to go visit your parents. You need to call up your brother or sister and spend time with them. Maybe you're someone who doesn't have a close, tight-knit family, but you really need to spend time connecting in your community with your friends, with people that God's given you to do life with. Whatever that family unit looks like for you, whether that's blood-related family or family that you've adopted, are you spending time with them today? Are you spending time with them this week, this month, this year? Some of you are really stuck in a career that you don't love, but you're not investing time in changing it. You can't complain about your current job situation if you're not willing to put the time into fixing it. Where are you spending your time? In my research of how we are spending our time for our American audience, the biggest area I found was our time in front of the TV, and I love a good show. But 2.5 hours a day, that was unbelievable. And we can't carve out more than 3.6 minutes to spend with God? Cut that back. I cut out TV time and gaming time for my kids, but have we cut it out for ourselves? I'm not trying to preach to anybody or be discouraging to say we shouldn't unwind and watch a show. Unwinding and watching a show is not bad. But is that where we're spending the majority of our time? You have one life. You have one body. We all have 24 hours in a day. I want to encourage you to check out the resources that will be in today's show notes. There are some podcasts in there that have helped me. There are some books in here. There are some retreats in here I'm going to mention and talk about. But there may be some things that came to your mind as soon as I mentioned one of those quadrants, whether that's spending time in your community or investing in your career. Maybe for you, it's calling the doctor and saying, I need to get that appointment on the books. I want to encourage you to spend some time investing in yourself today. God has given you the ability to live. You have breath in your lungs. Your heart is beating. Our life is so, so short. James 1:14 comes to mind. Life is a vapor. It just passes. If this morning you brewed a cup of hot coffee, then you saw that vapor come off of that coffee and it disappeared so quickly. And I want to encourage you today in today's conversation to take the time that you have to use it for good. If He's given you a dream, stop procrastinating and go pursue it. If He's given you a family, enjoy them. If He's given you a job, invest in it. But on top of all of those things, the most important thing we can do is that investment in our faith. And according to all the articles that I read, that is where we're spending the least amount of our time. is in our faith walk. 3.6 minutes a day. And that is something you can change right now. You can stop listening to this podcast and you can just enjoy being in Jesus' presence today. Galatians 6 verse 9 says, "And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up." Which tire are you putting air into today? Where are you spending most of your time? Look at your calendar. Where are you spending most of your time? And what area is getting neglected? Is your family getting neglected? Is your health getting neglected? Is your faith walk getting neglected? I guarantee you, when we put air into those tires, the other parts of our life immediately can take a breath because they don't have to work quite as hard. So don't forget today to check out the show notes. Maybe for you, you need some family resources. You need to know how to show up better for your family. Maybe for you, it's your body. Or maybe you need to go through counseling and some therapies. There are some resources in there that can help with that. So check out the show notes. Resources on your faith, on your family, on your work. If you're a leader, I'm going to link in there a book called The Emotionally Healthy Leader. It's a great, great book. I have gotten so much out of it. I know you will too. I want to encourage you to invest your time. Use it wisely. It is a gift. It is meant to be enjoyed. Our time is not a burden. Our time is a gift. Enjoy it today. As we close out today's episode, I want to just thank you for being here and also remind you of the scripture that we talked about. We talked about verses from Ephesians 5, Psalms 90, Colossians 4, and Galatians 6:9 that says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart." I know sometimes our time can feel like a burden, but our time is not something to fear or to rush through. It is a gift from God. It is meant to be lived and stewarded and even enjoyed, not with pressure or striving, but with wisdom, peace, and purpose. If today's conversation encouraged you, I would love for you to check out the show notes. There are a lot of resources there that I believe can help you. And if today's conversation was meaningful for you, I'd love for you to take a moment and leave a review. That helps other people to join the conversations here on the Faith and Work podcast. Until next time, I want to encourage you to walk in wisdom and steward the time that you've been given well.